I'm talking today with Forrest, who a lot of folks know as ClosetTransgender on YouTube. And hello. And he was generous enough to sit down today and share a little bit of time and his perspective. And I can't wait to dive in. And one thing I really do appreciate about Forrest's videos and your videos is that you kind of dip below the surface and you go a little deeper than just surface level transition conversations. And that's one of the things that I've really connected with your videos because there are such a wide range of perspectives and experiences in our shared trans experience that I think are fascinating. And that's one thing I really appreciate about Forrest's videos is that he kind of dives a bit deeper into the conversation. So that's kind of what I'm wanting to do today. To me, that's an interesting place to start because I always thought, once I tackle this big fear will be nothing for me in the future. And I can just, how has your relationship with fear changed since transitioning, or has it, or do you think about it?
Yeah, I definitely feel as though I'm a much more secure person. Being secure and insecure feels like before transition, I was pretty nervous to talk about all aspects of myself, especially the transgender part, and I felt a lot less comfortable in general. And that discomfort and those insecurities, that's a type of fear, it feels like. And I felt like I had this kryptonite. There's certain things that people could say or do that would just shut me down or make me weak, make me a weak person. And that was like, so I'd have fear of what could happen any day, what people could say or do to me to humiliate or embarrass me or feel like I'm in danger or whatever. Even just those little things like the fear of being somewhere with, let's say, my girlfriend and people saying like, "Hello, ladies, what would you like?" Like just anticipating that and being like, "I don't want that to happen." So those little everyday fears have just gone away, and it's wonderful.
There's like this underlying anxiety or something that just kind of dissolves, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
So has that affected how you experience that, I guess, just in general, fears that you have, like non-transition related? Has it affected that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really the fear that's kind of gone, the anxiety that's gone socially has allowed me to really express myself more. Mm-hmm. I have a work situation where my supervisor is making me have these feelings and reactions where I want to say like, "Hey, this isn't right, that's not fair," or "You're not treating me right." And in the past, I felt like if I spoke up, I just was really nervous about doing it. Mm-hmm. Like maybe I would be less accepted, or somebody would think I was. Well, I guess that's kind of hard to explain. But now I think about things like, well, you know what? My parents love me, and I've gone through this huge struggle, and I've succeeded in life on a personal level. Mm-hmm. So I feel as though I can just like say and do what I need to, and without being afraid of rejection from, let's say, my supervisor, shutting me down or just being like, "That's not allowed," or "You're not good enough for me here at work." It's like, but I am good enough. Like I'm good enough in my life.
Confidence is this magical thing, and it sounds like you found your voice in a way that you didn't have before.
And that literally and figuratively, mm-hmm. found the voice. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you attribute that, just to the confidence that you've gained in just being able to be more authentic in who you are, and feeling that sense of confidence that you're just not afraid of other people's opinions, I guess, or.
Yes, I'm less afraid of people's judgments. Mm. If people think I'm a dumb guy or a weak man or whatever, as long as it's like a man, I don't care.
It doesn't matter what kind of guy they think you are.
Yeah, which is weird, but that perception thing makes a huge difference.
That actually is one of my other questions, I guess, is how do you think people's perception of you as a human being? I mean, beyond just the obvious. I mean, do you think that even people you have known, do you think that their perception of who you are has changed at all?
Sometimes it makes me sad because people I know say like, "Oh, you're different now. You're not as light." Someone said I'm not as light and bouncy or something like that. And that made me kind of sad because I feel like the same person I was before, the light and bouncy person, and the, you know, that all has stayed with me. So I feel it inside, but it's interesting that on the outside I'm perceived in this kind of slightly different way, new way. But what I have noticed for myself is that I have this added confidence that a lot of people attribute, to the testosterone itself, like, oh, it makes you more confident, makes you bold and this and that. And I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think the fact that you're perceived as a man, I guess that's kind of the question that you had is like, do people perceive me in general, and like what sort of differences do I notice? That's such a low topic, right?
Yeah. I mean, it is complicated because I think that there's the obvious changes that people get caught up on, and they associate those changes, like you said, with the hormonal shift. But I do think it kind of goes beyond that because it has to do with the confidence that you didn't have before, and or that I didn't have before, and so I think that how people see us, I mean, it's obviously affected by the outer changes that they see, but I mean, I do think that there are equal inner shifts that are happening that are maybe less to do with the hormones and maybe more to do with just our general sense of confidence.
Come together and becoming one with yourself.
Right.
That is huge.
It is huge.
Like a building that is finally finished being built, and it's got, stable floors and stable framing and looks really, good because you worked on it a long time.
Right, exactly.
Of a project that was a little bit falling apart and things weren't in the right place and it was a little bit dangerous to walk through or something.
That's funny. I love that kind of metaphor of our bodies as houses that we have to, and I actually heard another trans poet talk about his body as a house, and that we don't always like it, but we have to maintain it and keep it healthy. So that actually leads into my next question is, how has your own mind, body, spirit connection shifted? I mean, do you think, has it shifted your connection to yourself, I guess on different levels?
Yes, definitely. And sometimes I'm a little bit embarrassed about it because I'm like, have I become more vain, or is this the way it's supposed to be? But I look at myself more. I will touch my body more or spend more time just examining in a way that, where I'm like, ooh, I like this, or like, cool, yeah, I'm gonna pose a little bit and this and that. Whereas before, I did as little, looking at myself as I could, or if I was kind of examining myself, I was looking closely for like, do I look like a guy if I go like this? Do my eyebrows kind of look like a man's eyebrow, and bits and pieces where I could like recognize myself in. And now it's like I can recognize my entire body, and I'm using it in a new way, physically just trying to build up muscle and being more involved with like working out with other guys and things I would never do in the past. And that's a type of connection I'm having with myself.
Absolutely. So you feel like you're taking care of your body in a way that you never did before, I'm guessing.
Definitely. And, sexually more free, just like really comfortable taking off my clothes and things, and that's great.
It's a whole new world.
It really is in some ways.
Well, talk to me a little bit about I mean, to me, you seem like a spiritual guy, like you have this connection with yourself beyond your body. And is that something that has changed for you since transitioning, or have you always been kind of on that path, or is that something that you're kind of discovering more now that you are more connected to your body, and so you're able to connect with, a deeper part of yourself too.
Right. And that's something interesting, because I know that's a topic that you explore, and I'm real curious actually about your experience with that. But for me, one thing I felt when I was younger, as a child, I kind of looked around at the world, and I had this realization in a moment that stuck with me for the rest of my life. But I was like, man, is this real? Is everything really real? Am I real?
Right.
I kind of looked and I was like, is this body really mine? Is this me inside? Or like, where am I? Where do I begin and where do I end? And anyway, with that sort of, it made this dysphoria of being in the wrong body manageable, because I was like, I feel like a man or a boy, but I'm in this body that looks different. So I must be a spirit inside a body, and I just like have to figure out how to live.
Right.
But I've had this magical belief that got me through, and like, I'm being spiritually challenged, and I have to, experience this, and then one day I'll wake up and I'll be a boy or I'll be a man. And I kept holding on to that for so long. Like, God is testing me, and he has a sense of humor.
Exactly.
And thank goodness I had sort of this positive, hopeful outlook, which during puberty crushed me, because I was like, wait a minute, when do I wake up a boy?
Right. Exactly. Where is it? Where's my
Yeah.
answered prayer? Yeah.
And I had to come up with this, like, am I being punished? And if so, why am I being punished? Like, what did I do? And what am I supposed to learn? Because all I feel is pain. And then, then you really have these deep questions. But then now being able to transition, and as far as how it's changed my spiritual experience or added to it or deepened it, I think this entire transgender experience makes me feel really connected to all people, connected to this physical experience that we have. It's just an experience, It's we're just thrown into these different situations, all of us, and we're all dealing with these different situations. And one thing, this is interesting, I'm going to take a little tangent. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Love tangents.
So, yeah, I was thinking there's this fear when you're transgender before, this puberty experience where you're like, oh no, boobs, what? No, what's happening? Ah. That's a similar feeling that I think all humans, those that experience terrible accidents like car wrecks, they're like, my legs, I can't use my legs. That's a similar feeling of panic, like, and it feels like, I just imagine. And there's a similar experience in aging that happens where people start to lose themselves. They look in the mirror and they're like, why do I have that wrinkle? Or like, why is my hair falling out? Or what is going on with my body? It's not acting the same. It's not being the same. It's not my body. This isn't supposed to happen. And so that aging experience is what gets everybody. So when we're young and we're experiencing the dysphoria of being trans, it's kind of a preview and this instant wisdom that we get that a lot of people will get later in life as they become less physically attractive and less physically mobile, and as their bodies change out of their control, they'll experience something similar to what we as transgender people experience when we also realize that we have no control over these bodies.
Right.
There's things that everyone can do to kind of maintain their bodies and change their bodies and develop their bodies. But at some point, we all lose control. We all lose everything. The process of aging, the process of dying. We have no control over these things. And I think you and I are in a position where we can have a lot more compassion and deep examinations of the body and what it's all about. And as we go through this transition, you realize we don't have to have as much fear of things. I don't know, or at least that's what I notice, is like we don't have to be scared. We don't have to try to hold on or control everything or that sort of thing. Anyway,
That
over to
actually,
you.
no, I think that's great because it kind of circles back to the fear thing and what I think the transition experience teaches us about fear and how to manage it, and that fear of change is just something that I think as human beings we experience. And I think that's part of something that as trans people we can help non-trans people or just people
Mhm.
learn. And I don't know if you agree. I mean, it feels like trans people have something valuable to share with the world. And
Absolutely.
and what do you think that is? What I mean, do you have a
Oh,
message that you are
yeah.
hoping that your experience will
Heck
bring to people?
yes. Yeah, I really do think that we are bridges between, we're bridges between the sexes, between gender. Definitely a lot of insight there. Uh, and as much as we know about men and women, we're very aware of physical differences and chemical differences and cultural and social differences. All those insights that we have, not only of crossing over from one side to the other, but being stuck in one side.
Right.
That gives us tons of insight. I think we have sexual insight. I think we have insight from overcoming struggle, just the challenge, the bold risks that we have to take in changing ourselves, in making other people around us really uncomfortable, and the challenges, that we create at work or at school or, for other people or on the street, all those things that we do, those, the things that make us different or threatening at times to other people, that's valuable work, and
Yeah.
big. It's a big responsibility and challenge, but we do it. We do it because we have to, not
Yeah.
because not because it's fun and not because it's interesting, but we can get a lot out of it.
Yeah, actually, I watched. I think it may have been your latest video that you just posted, where you talked about this responsibility that we have, and because our trans experience is valuable and valid, and we have this perspective that.
Yeah.
How do you reconcile that sense of responsibility to have conversations and to bring this perspective to people, and also just live your life as the man that you are now? I mean, for me, I struggle sometimes with when to out myself, because before I was very visibly queer, I guess, as a masculine female. So that was the part of your video that you were talking about, how, you went from being like this really obviously different person to this, now you're in a place where it's kind of comfortable and you blend in and you're a likable guy and people talk to you and are friendly in a way that they weren't before. And now I'm finding myself in a place personally where I have to make an effort to out myself and to share my perspective if I want to expand people's minds and help them hopefully grow and learn from my experience. How do you navigate those two extremes between just wanting to live your life as the man that you finally are and
Mhm.
outing yourself in order to, or do you? Or are you just purely stealth except for the work that you're doing to help other trans guys? How do you, does that make sense? Is that a good question?
That does. No, that was good. It's it's uh it it's our choice. It's our choice for when we educate, and as you can imagine, um, it's very comfortable just being one of the guys, and it's not necessary. I wouldn't say if there's no window or opportunity for someone to learn and grow, then you don't have to educate and kind of feed information. That wouldn't work. It wouldn't be absorbed or anything like that. So to me, the appropriate way for me to be, I feel very fulfilled by the work I do online, making videos, meeting up with other trans guys, um, sharing and collecting information and uh, learning as much as I can every day and this and that. But as far as so I feel very responsible. Like, I think we're all doing the same thing. This work you're doing right now, that totally, we're doing great work together right now.
We are.
It's good.
Yes.
And sometimes it's just important if you're witnessing something terrible, or you're overhearing conversations that are just so cruel or misled about the topic of transgender. Sometimes it's good to interrupt and give some new insight into it without outing yourself if it's dangerous, or by outing yourself and creating a shocker moment.
Right.
I've never really done that.
New level of fear.
Exactly. But yeah, we get to do whatever we want, and we're always, I think, doing what makes sense for us.
So has your creative expression shifted and changed? Have you noticed a difference in the things that you're wanting to create now?
I don't know if it's affected my artistic side as much, and I'm curious if it's affected yours.
It has. For me, I think that
You're like, I want to make bigger pictures.
Exactly.
All things. No.
In a way, I mean, I think that I'm thinking about my creativity in a different way.
Yeah.
I think I'm thinking about creating different things, like interviews and telling different kind of stories. So I think I'm still a visual artist in a way, but I'm also, I think more about how can I help tell stories, or how can I, so I think that my creativity is being, it's
You're trying to incorporate
maybe
this art.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know yet if that's what's going to happen, but I do think that I think about creative projects differently. And I don't know if that has anything to do with my transition, or if it's just me as a person.
Would you say you're taking yourself more seriously?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that may just be my own personal growth as a professional and human person who's wanting to create things, and less to do with my transition. But I do think there's this overlap in creativity and spirituality and transition. For me, they're all sort of correlated, at least in the work that I'm wanting to do now. So that's why I'm curious about other people who are creatives and
I definitely have been. It really varies with me with the art thing, and there's kind of an ebb and flow, and I don't know if there's much in my experience related to the transgender aspect.
So you're kind of still creating the same stuff that you've always been creating in terms of your art.
No, I'll tell you one thing, and this is kind of a secret, but I'm going to tell you my secret, and you can share it with the world.
Hey, you hearing it here first. Exclusive.
When I was younger, whenever I had a crush on a girl or something, I'd give her artwork, and it was like, hey, look at artwork, now maybe you'll like me.
That is interesting.
I don't have to do that. No, just kidding, because it was like a backdoor, it was like, notice me please, because unless I do this.
Gonna woo her with art.
Yeah, exactly. And now I just use my body because it's so masculine and attractive.
Right, clearly. I'm trying to think the best way to ask this. I mean, has your perspective of gender changed at all? Just in general, what gender means?
I've been challenged a lot on the topic of, like, is gender real? What does gender mean by other people? And I never thought about that before. I have been challenged because I fit into the binary and the heteronormative so well. And I thought before I transitioned, I thought that that's what being trans was. It was you went from a man to a woman, or a woman to a man. And I didn't realize there was this whole gender queer, or questioning gender if it's real, and this and that. I didn't know there was that much academic discussion as I do now. And I've been really fascinated by the the diversity and the variety and the real deep questions that come up. That was something I had no idea before transitioning, before making videos on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize there was this whole other, just very just thing. And I
Yeah.
try through my own videos and interviews, as much as I can, I try to explore that because it's different from my own experience. And so yes, I have been thinking a lot about what is gender, what does it mean? But it's helped me also see myself and where I'm at and how strangely binary like I behave and am, or is it a setting? I don't know.
And, oh, that's interesting too. The environmentally influenced in terms of. So, do you adhere to gender roles in the same way that you did before? Did you just, or do you find that you still embrace? Do you embrace stereotypical gender roles in a stereotypical way? Because
I see what you're saying. And this is something I knew before. I always was very masculine, and when I was pre-transition, I was a very masculine woman, and I probably appeared that way I was probably at sometimes overcompensating and really pushing down the feminine side of me. And now as a man, I'm much more comfortable with the feminine aspects of my nature, and very comfortable being just a full spectrum of whatever. But yeah, I still really identify as a macho man and the tough guy stuff, and that's fun for me, and that's okay, I think,
Right.
and I indulge a little.
Right. But you also, I guess it comes back to the confidence thing too, where
Yeah.
you're not necessarily afraid of the fact that, I think that there's a feminine energy and a masculine energy that we all kind of embody.
Yeah.
And I was always afraid of expressing anything that I thought other people might perceive as being feminine. And,
Totally.
but now I feel like I'm not as resistant to it because I feel more confident. And so clearly I'm a manly man, so you can't
That's
question
what I'm talking about.
So, but, so I was just curious if you kind of feel the same.
Oh,
I mean, I guess it comes back to the confidence. Yeah. So how have you most changed?
Most? Boy. For a long time, ever since I transitioned, I've been more single, like less in a relationship with another. And this is new to me. And I think I used relationships and like having a girlfriend as sort of a crutch. Like, in a way, it let me be a man because in a relationship, like, someone else would understand me and my struggle perfectly, and it was almost like an outlet a little bit. And having transitioned, a relationship fell apart, and I've been solo and really focused on myself in a way I've never been before, and that's something new, different, and interesting. And I'm like, and I can tell that I'm much more secure now, and I can see sort of some of the games I played in the past, and even beyond that, even beyond relationship stuff, so I can see myself, my entire self, in this new way, and kind of see how I matured and have become more wiser and more comfortable. So that's where I'm at now.
That is awesome. How should people connect with you online? Because you're doing some great work.
On YouTube, my channel is ClosetTransgender, as you mentioned, and there's on my channel itself, there's a connection to my website, which has a connection to Facebook and my email. So please, if you have any questions or comments or concerns, go ahead and send me a message, because I learn so much about people and these different experiences through connections, and it blows me away, and I just have a very curious mind like you, and so there's a lot to be learned.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation and talk a little bit. I mean, this has really been great, and I really do appreciate your perspective, and I could probably ask you a million more questions, but maybe we'll have a part 2 sometime.
I hope so. Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
we'll meet up in person. But it's been a real pleasure. I appreciate it.
Thank